Hello, welcome to my channel, Loc'D, and today we're going to talk about 10 book recommendations that are spooky, horror, mystery, thriller. And this video is particularly exciting and special to me because I will be highlighting some books that you can read for my readathon that's called Blackoween, specifically in Blackoween's first town, which is called Toolish Parish.
Watch What Happens. I was like, wow. Did you notice it?
And they have a location in it called Ruby's Crew. So Ruby Crew's Park, to be specific. So this location will cater everything for Ruby's Crew Park. So I have 20 minutes on the clock until I have to be somewhere. So hopefully I can get through this while I talk to you about the books that we'll be talking about in this video. Now I might have to come back because I think I have to go and do something. So okay, so let's start with the first book we're going to talk about today. I'll move over a little bit, and it is My Dear Henry. It is a Jekyll and Hyde remix. I read this book I think last year. Yeah, I read this book last year, and it follows the story of Gabriel Artisan, who is a 17-year-old law clerk, and he has returned to London for the first time since his life and his dearest friend Henry Jekyll was derailed by a scandal that led to his and Henry expulsion from the London Medical School. Whispers about the true nature of Gabriel and Henry's relationship has followed the boys for 2 years, and now Gabriel has a chance to start again. For Gabriel doesn't want to move on, not without Henry. His friend has become distant and cold since the disastrous events of the prior spring, and now his letters have stopped altogether. Desperate to discover what becomes of him, Gabriel takes to watching the Jekyll house. And Gabriel is really determined to figure out why his friend isn't talking to him. I remember reading this book and thinking it has the same pace of Kaylin Barron's book Cinderella is Dead, in the sense of it is really slow. This is also a queer story, just in case if you're looking for that. And it's just really slow. The pace was so slow to me that I even thought about DNFing it for a little while. It's not my favorite Kaylin Barron, but it fits the prompts of this location because one of the characters has to do with a character that gets infected. So one of the prompts as of now has to do with a character who's got infected. So this is a good book for that, because if you know anything about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know who got infected and you know who infected who. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what's going on. So as it stands, this book right now has a 3.87 rating on Goodreads. This is also a young adult book. And in Ruby Crew, I like people to stay in that middle grade or children's lit, but I understand that there's a lot of adults who are participating in Blackoween, so I also wanted to do like a mixture of young adult and adult books and also middle grade books to show you that there are different avenues that you can choose. But I do implore you to try your best to kind of see if there's middle grade books out there that you may enjoy, because I'm telling you right now, the Black middle grade writers, their pen is hot and it's heavy and it's lit, and they're out here doing the work, you know? So let's move on to the next book. So the next book is a book that I really loved this book. Not only because this book is more diasporic in nature, it's because of the magic system in the book and grief and how you just have to like work your way through something, even if it's hard, to try to get on the other side. And it's also a story of like just trying to figure out, even when you're in a dark place, who do you gravitate to help pull you through that, and who do you look for to kind of ground you in the situations of hardship. Still grieving the loss of her mother, Eden visits Safina Island, her ancestry home, as a healing balm. But when she discovers an old sketchbook that belonged to her mother, she's haunted by the images she sees drawn there. A creepy mansion covered with roots and leaves, a monstrous dog with dagger-edged sharp teeth, and a tall woman with wind-blown hair, long, sharp nails, who is beautiful as she is terrifying. And to be honest, Karen Strong did a really good job describing this woman, because she was terrifying. I found myself with my audiobook kind of looking around, kind of make sure my surroundings were clear, because I was like, dang, she described her pretty vividly. Days later, exploring the island alone, Eden follows a black cat through a rift in the bright day. She stumbles into Everdark, a parallel world where the sun never rises, where spirits linger between death and the afterlife, and where everything from her mother's drawing is all too real, especially the witch of Everdark, who wants to make Eden her eternal daughter. Yikes. Okay, that's a lot. Sorry, I gotta fix the screen to make sure that you can say me. So I won't lie to you, that woman was terrifying in the book. I'm not gonna lie, some middle grade that I've been reading lately, specifically black middle grade, they're not holding your hands. They're actually spooky, scary stuff even for me as an adult. So don't sleep on middle grade is what I'm saying. So shout out to Karen Strong for writing a fantastic novel. And now we're going to go on into When the Reckoning Comes. This is another adult title. When the Reckoning Comes was written by LaTanya Queen, and this is a haunting story about a black woman who returns to her hometown for a plantation wedding, and the horror that ensues as she reconnects with the blood-soaked history of the land and the best friend she left behind. So this is a story of pretty much a young woman, I think her name is Mira, and Mira leaves this town that has all these things connected to it: racism, generational trauma, anything you can name that is disastrous. That's what she was running away from, only for her to come back to this town and be like, wait a minute, is my best friend really asking me to be a part of her wedding that's on the plantation? And let me just stop right here. Y'all need to stop having weddings on a plantation. You need to stop having weddings on land that reminds people of plantations. You just gotta stop it. Like it has to stop somewhere. So even as the reader, and me existing as a black woman reading this book, I felt for Mira. I was so equally pissed as well. But I do think this is a book, when it says When the Reckoning Comes, that is a perfect title for the last, I think, couple pages of the book, because this is not a book where you're reading it and you're like, oh my god, I wish that this would happen, or I wish that there was more like actual revenge, you know. And in this book, what goes around comes around. Do you hear me? And I just like the way, I wish it could have been more bloody and disastrous, but we got what we got, and I appreciated that. So we're moving on to the next book, called Lone Wolf by Victor Lavelle. This is not my favorite of Victor Lavelle, but I did rate this pretty high, I believe, when I read it. I enjoyed it. This is a story within a story within a story, or a mystery within a mystery, kind of. So this is a story about this young woman. Let me see what her name is. Adelaide. And Adelaide is traveling with this trunk. Okay? And you're just trying to figure out what's in the trunk, what she's keeping, why is she keeping what she's keeping in the trunk, and what is happening to all of these people who are being murdered and killed as she goes on her travels. Like, what is happening to these people? So I'll go ahead and read the description. Blue skies, empty land, and enough wide open space to hide a horrifying secret. A woman with a past, a mysterious trunk, in a town on the edge of nowhere, and an absorbing, powerful new vision of the American West. From the author of The Changeling, which is Victor Lavelle. Adelaide Henry carries an enormous steamer trunk with her wherever she goes. It's locked at all times because when the trunk opens, people around Adelaide start to disappear. I'm talking disappear. And Victor did such a good job with writing this that you were just like, who is in the trunk? What's in the trunk? Like, you were confused if it was like a person or a being or some kind of magic, or maybe just secret letters. Like, you were on edge while reading, trying to figure out who's actually in the trunk, right? So as I continue, the year is 1915 and Adeline is in trouble. And the good thing about this book, which is Lone Wolf, which is Lone Women, And the other book that I talked about earlier with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is they're pretty set in older times. Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was set in the 18th century, and this is set in the 19th century. So I do like a book that will take us in history, so that's pretty cool to see as well. So this year, the year is 1915. Adeline is in trouble. Her secret sin killed her parents, forcing her to flee California in a hell rush and make her way to Montana as a homesteader. And let me tell you, people are after this girl. They were after her majority of the book, trying to get her and kill her, or get her to say what's in the trunk or what happened to her parents. Dragging the trunk with her at every stop, she will become one of the lone women taking advantage of the government's offer to free land for those who can tame it. Except that Adelaide isn't alone, and the secret she's tried so desperately to lock away might be the only thing that will help her survive the harsh territory. And again, she's not traveling alone. She's traveling with someone else who also have secrets. So I thought that was dope too. Lone Women blends simmering prose and unforgettable cast of adventures who find horror and sisterhood in a brutal landscape. And that's why the title Lone Women is so very important. And I also will say, if this matters to you, the cover also can give away some things that happened in the book, but you have to read the book to know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so let's go to the next one. I Feed Her to the Beast, and the Beast is Me. Now this is a cautionary tale of you sell your soul to the devil and the devil is coming. I hate to be that girl, but you sell your soul to the devil and the devil is coming. So let's go ahead and talk about what this book is. So I Feed Her to the Beast, and the Beast is Me follows the story of this girl named Laurie. And she's a perfectionist with an axe to grind. Despite being constantly overlooked in the elite and cutthroat world of the Parisian ballet, she would do anything to prove that a black girl can take center stage. And it's kind of like Black Swan, but make it black. Like actually black. To level the playing field, Laurie ventures deep into the depths of the catacombs and strikes a deal with the pulsating river of blood. The primordial power Laurie gains promises influence and adoration, everything she dreamed of and worked towards. With retribution on her mind, she surpasses her bitter and privileged peers, leaving broken bodies behind her and on her climb to stardom. I don't think this main character really understood the gravity of what she was doing and how she was like stealing the spotlight for somebody else, and just like jealousy and the need to be the star is kind of a cautionary tale in this one too, of being like, you think that the grass is greener on the other side, and babes, it is not. So like what she's doing is actually killing her, but she is more obsessed with the fact that I need to be the star. I need to show people that, you know, a black girl can be a Parisian ballet ballerina. I was like, person? That's not it. Okay, so yeah, so I like this book. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 when I rated it, and I think I rated it earlier this year, so I appreciated this book. So we're going to go on to Root Magic, and Root Magic is a middle grade, and this is set in the 1960s, and it's about these twins, Jezebel Turner and her brother Jay. And they are in the lovely care of their grandmother. And while they're in the lovely care of their grandmother, unfortunately their grandmother passes on. But I say in the lovely care of their grandmother. Their mom was there too. But their grandmother passed. It was very hard for them. And then when their grandmother passed, they start to be introduced to a part of their culture that they wasn't introduced to before. And they're also trying to get the local police to stop harassing them and harassing their family. And they're also trying to keep their identity a secret as Gullah Geechee people and how they're tied to root magic, while also trying to figure out how they can use root magic to protect each other.
Gullah means that you are a descendant of West Africans who were enslaved here in the Sea Islands, going all the way up from North Carolina all the way down to Florida, but primarily in our South Carolina Sea Islands.
They were brought from the coast of West Africa to the Low Country and enslaved in order to do the labor of the plantations that helped to build America.
It's the blending of all of those cultures that came together during the transatlantic slave trade that gave birth to this culture called Gullah.
Gullah is the most authentic African culture in America. We think Gullah came from the word Gola. The Gola tribe were rice-growing people in West Africa, and they were brought over to develop rice fields.
One of the major reasons why we were selected from the west coast of Africa, especially those rice-producing countries like Sierra Leone, Senegal, Gambia, Angola, the rice coast, was because of our expertise in rice cultivation. We came here with specialized skills, and so we were assigned specific tasks. And if we completed those tasks, let's say by noon, then we had the rest of the day, quote unquote, as free time.
They were pretty much left alone certain times in the year, and so they were able to really practice the African way of life. And so it has sustained itself over the last 150 years.
And so that's why you still see Gullah so prevalent in these areas as opposed to maybe in the upper state or other parts of the country.
So I will be talking about this book in a vlog next week. I'm excited to read it. This has been on my TBR forever, so I'm excited to read it. So I will talk to y'all about that book next week. The next book I'll be talking to you guys about next week is a book I should have read a very long time ago, but it did not happen. And it's called Hide and Seeker by Daka Harmon. And this is a very horrific middle grade from when I've watched like people review this book and the things that they've said. So I'll read to you what it says. Justin knows that something is wrong with his best friend, Z. Z went missing for a year, and when he comes back, he was different. Nobody knows what happened to him. At Z's welcome home party, Justin and the neighborhood crew play hide and seek, but it goes wrong, very wrong. One by one, everyone who plays the game disappeared, pulled into a world of nightmares come to life. Justin and his friends realized this horrible place is where Z had been trapped. All they can do now is hide from the seeker. I just know that this is going to be written well because I had a friend, Chloe, who read this book and spoke volumes about this book. So it has to be a good book. You can't convince me it's not. And then The Vanquishers is the next book. It's another Kaylin Baring. And Kaylin Baring to me is an author I'll always return to because for the most part I love her writing and love her books. The only books that, you know, I'm like, is because of the pace, and that is Cinderella is Dead, which I did rate highly enough, and also My Dear Henry. So Malika Boog Wilson and her best friends have grown up idolizing the Vanquishers, a group of heroic vampire hunters who wiped out the last horde of the undead decades ago. Nowadays, most people don't take even the most basic vampire precautions. The days of garlic wreaths and early curfews long gone, but Boog's parents still follow the old rules, much to her embarrassment, I should say. When a friend goes missing, Boog isn't sure what to do. Could it be the school counselor, Mr. Robert, who definitely seemed to be hiding something, or could it be something more dangerous? Boog is determined to save her friend, but is she ready to admit vampires might not be vanquished after all? No one ever expected the Vanquishers to return, but if their town needs protection from the undead, Boog knows who to call. So this is a story that I was like, this could be an interesting middle grade to get into because it's like horror, they have vampires. I just know it's going to be good. There's a mystery to be solved. I just know it's going to be good, even though I don't always gravitate to vampire stories. I used to when I was younger, but I think this will be good as well. And then the final number 10 of this is The Witchery by S. Isabel. And this is a book that I've been trying to read as well. So this book says, the hunting season is here and the wolves are awake. In Hassville, Florida is a held mount. At least, that's what Logan, a baby witch struggling to control her power, thinks as she arrives to the witch town to begin the new school year at Messmort's Coven Academy. She is immediately taken under the wing of the infamous Red 3. Iris is a death wish who wants nothing more than to break the town's curse. Jayla is one of the most powerful witches at the academy, but her thirst for power may lead her down a dark path. And Thalia, a talented green witch, is on the run from her religious family and a past that still haunt her. Fear and prejudice still fuel the uneasy truce between humans and witches who are forced to work together when the hunting season begins and wolves rise from the swamp to feed. With this approaching, 2 Hammersmith boys prepare to make their first sacrifices to the witches in exchange for protection. But as they become involved with the Messmort witches, plan to end the wolves' reign of terror once and for all. Old dangers lie in wait. And that's really what got me. The old dangers lie in wait. Because I'm like, is there something ancient gonna come out? I like to think of like the originals, you know, when you're like thinking it's all good and here come Klaus and his raggedy daddy. Or like when we're thinking about like The Lost Girl, the TV show, the sci-fi TV show where the what was they called, the Garuda came back and was like, hey, y'all thought we were dead? Lies. So I love it when ancient stuff come back, so I'm hoping that that will be in that book as well. So those are the 10 books. Let's make sure I count them. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the other book. So this is a book that I already read, and it is called Bitter Root. This is a comic, so let me go and pull it up because I read the whole series and I am not in the business of spoiling. So in the 1920s, another, you know, historical type novel, the Harlem Renaissance is in full swing, and only the Sangre family can save New York and the world from the supernatural forces threatening to destroy humanity. But the once great family of monster hunters have been torn apart by tragedies and conflicting moral codes. The Sangre family must heal the wounds of the past and move beyond their differences, or sit back and watch a force of unimaginable evil ravage the human race. What I love the most about Bitter Root is that the Sangre family is literally fighting white supremacy. That's brilliant. Brilliantly done, executed, written, drawn, all of that. Loved it. Definitely go out and get that. I have a first edition, a first volume edition signed by, I think, was it Chuck? Yeah, so I put this one in there because, you know, Black authors doing it again, even in the form of comics. And I think comics need love too, especially those written by Black folks. So there you have it. Those are 10 recommendations that I would love for you to get on to, even if I was like, I'm kind of feeling like this or whatever. I always think to say them because somebody may like what you don't like. So I don't need to say, I loved all of these. These are just 10 recommendations that I think would be cool for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I can't wait for you to see the vlog next week. And I will talk to you later. And be good to yourself. Bye.